Hi, my name's Joe Johnson. I'm a strength conditioning coach at MNEP. This time of year for me means the facility's going to be very busy at the minute. Pre-season gives an ideal opportunity for players to sort of seek out private work because it means that they can get more bespoke training. They can look to work on any sort of weaknesses they may have identified throughout the season or any little niggles they may have had throughout the season. Pre-season from a mental standpoint, I think can be quite tough on a few players. Players are used to, they like their structure, they like their sort of routine in terms of I go to train at this time, I'm out on the pitch at this time, I do the gym at this time, and I'm surrounded by 20 plus players and X amount of staff at the same time. So I think sometimes players mentally can need to look for something external during the off season. Because they need that sort of structure around them. They need somebody telling them we are looking to do X, Y and Z today because of X, Y and Z, which was identified in your testing by these sort of metrics here. So I think mentally, some players really need that to push themselves during the off season, because if they don't, they'll go through the motions and they'll, oh, I'll stop there, I don't think I've got another run left in us, or I don't think I've got another rep left in us, sort of thing, and they'll give up a bit earlier than what they actually probably could do. But if they've got a coach there that's pushing them, I think they'll probably push themselves past that point as well. From a physical standpoint, it's a time of year that's really unique in the sense of we're not too worried about game days and match days and anything else, so it gives us a chance to really delve into sort of intricacies of performance. So whether or not that's looking at somebody's sort of drop jump capabilities with our RSI, or it might be somebody's acceleration mechanics and stuff like that. Something that's quite difficult to coach in season and cross squad wide. By using sort of off season, it means that people can really sort of look at their performance and say, I'm really weak at this, which means that I need to work on this, this and this. Yeah, so a running effective off season, I think a lot of it comes down to planning, but it also comes down to how you load an athlete. If we run an intensive camp like we currently do, which works from Monday to Friday, and we go, right, Monday is a testing day which involves some like sprint testing, some max output jumps, some high levels of hamstring strength testing, some aerobic based testing and anaerobic testing. Players can be in a state of fatigue on sort of like a Tuesday, not a high level, but they can be in a bit of fatigue. So if they come in and we go, right, we're going to go really big and we're going to really push the boundaries today, by Wednesday they're going to be absolutely like shot. They're going to have nothing left in the tank. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday becomes then almost like a wasted opportunity because they've got nothing left to give. So it means that everything's going to be really diluted in quality. From a coach's point of view, I think a lot of coaches do make that mistake of they say it's off season, they think, right, I'm going to run my athletes and I'm going to get them to lift things really heavy consistently, which is great and it is stuff you want to work on an off season, but it's got to be done at the right time and in the right sort of setting. Like, as I've mentioned, you can't go like 3 big days on the row where I've got somebody on a bike and somebody running across those days and gym work and ball work. Like, they're going to come out of it absolutely shot to pieces and probably be in a worse state and not want to probably come back after it. If you're in the off season, your number one focus should be go and identify or speak to your current club and identify where they believe that you need to improve the most. From there, look to get a plan developed either within your club, because some clubs are great at doing so and developing individualised plans for some players. If you're not in that position, you're not fortunate enough to have that sort of level of expertise beside you, go and seek out some professionals within private facilities like ourselves that can offer that sort of support that you might need to really maximise your off-season. To make the most out of a strength session, even if you're in a state of fatigue and you're in a high load sort of training week, we often utilise BFR or Hytro BFR within that sort of setting, because it allows us to deload some of the external weight that we might be utilising while still getting that same strength benefit that we're currently trying to chase. It'll also add and aid the recovery of the athlete due to the sort of flushing effect that athletes get when they're unstrapped from the BFR. I'd say the big separation between those players who survive pre-season and thrive within pre-season are those that have probably put in the work during the off-season. As mentioned, it's a really unique time period for players and it gives them a time to really dial into their own performance when you're in a squad environment, coaches are spread thin. They can't be giving players individual feedback, individual programming across the season. Like 25 players with 25 different programs and 25 injury issues is just impossible for a full season. So they obviously will operate like a squad-wise team-based training, which is great. Off-season gives you that chance to really sort of delve into your own performance and say, I know my 5-metre acceleration is really weak. I need to work on my sprint-based mechanics and my initial force production. How do I do that? And by doing so and putting in that work early in the off-season, getting it done, obviously go and rest and recover before, like in early stages. That's what you need. You've had a big season. Before you go back, you need to be doing some work and you need to be getting into your own performance. And by doing that, you will thrive in pre-season. One method I think it's utilised, but I don't think it's utilised in the correct way by some, is like a full athletic testing protocol. By getting into somewhere which has access to like high-level equipment and high-level testing equipment sort of thing, and really delving into the intricacies of each individual's performance, you can understand your performance better, and by doing so it'll mean that your training's in a much better position. Some people will use it wrong and they'll use some outdated methods to do testing and stuff like that and think, oh, my jump height on this jump mat is 70 centimetres. But actually, if you use a force plate to get more accurate measure, your jump height might be 30 centimetres instead. If that's the difference, then your training looks very different in terms of what you need to work on. So I'd say actually getting a full profiling session done and utilising that data correctly can be so beneficial for an athlete. It can really sort of push that performance to the next level. One weekly habit I would suggest players use in sort of off-season, building up for the season ahead, is making sure you get enough sleep and recovery side of things. So whether or not that's using BFR for some passive recovery or some active recovery, going out on walks, going in the pool, sort of stuff like that, anything that's really good for your recovery, good nutrition, high levels of sleep, do that, get on top of your recovery early and keep that sort of routine going throughout the season, and you'll see big returns on your performance. BFR can be utilised heavily within the off-season. We've already mentioned it would be a huge benefit in terms of recovery side of things by utilising that flush effect, but it can also be utilised heavily within that sort of strength phase, because we can look at offloading external load and external weight during lifts, but still get that same sort of strength benefit, even if it's at a reduced weight. As well as that, we'll utilise it heavily within the mobility side of things. Obviously, it's been well documented how improvements in range of motion can be sort of shown utilising BFR. So by utilising it in that way as well, you can get on top of your mobility, which is something that's normally neglected when it comes into pre-season and in-season by players, just simply because they believe they don't have time, even when it will probably take them 5 or 10 minutes before they go to bed or when they get up. Yeah, so we can never control how an athlete comes into us. So sort of athlete-coach relationship's really important in that side of things. So whenever an athlete comes in, the first question we'll ask is, how are you getting on? What have you done so far this week? If you've got anything else on this week. By that sort of discussion there, we can sort of get a brief idea of where they're at and how they're feeling, because some of them will be really honest with us and say, actually, I'm a 4 out of 10 today, Joe. I'm really tired, I'm really fatigued. And that adapts. That means that our session has to adapt. So we'll always plan a session up and have an idea in my head, but that plan's made in pencil that can then be erased and changed on the fly based on how an athlete comes in. By some of the tools we have access to here, it means that our sessions can be really adapted quite easily. So through use of like Hytro BFR t-shirt or Hytro BFR pair of shorts, it means that we can still get after certain metrics and certain performance elements that we might want, even when somebody comes in at that sort of reduced state. To sort of get the buy-in to our off-season camp, we'll always explain what we're doing and how the week's going to look to the players when they first come through the door. So we'll always explain, Mondays we're testing session. It's going to be quite a boring day for the lads and they understand that, but it's a one that's got to be done. We've got to understand where everyone's at, so we can then sort of theme the days accordingly and say, right, we've noticed a weakness in the squad across this metric, so our training needs to be adapted to hit this metric and try and move the needle. We'll sort of explain each day as well when they come in and say to them how you're feeling, how you're getting on, is there anything we need to know about? Because some players might get a little niggle, they might slept funny, they might feel, oh, I'm really fatigued today. And we'll take that into consideration and adapt our sessions on the fly again. We can utilise some of the stuff we've got here, like the Hytro BFR shorts and stuff, to then still adapt the session but still get after that same sort of training methodology that we're looking for. So whether that's a big strength day, acceleration day or deceleration day, we can still utilise stuff like Hytro BFR to work on unilateral strength, bilateral strength, even when they are in that sort of state of fatigue. The players will buy into it because we'll explain the science behind things to them and say, look, we're working on this today because it's looking at improving this, this and this. And it's something that was flagged in the testing. So I think by explaining things and having that good coach relationship with the athlete, it can get a lot of buy-in from the players and get players to really engage in the training that we're looking for them to do. In terms of what I've changed my mind on with regards to off-season sort of work and stuff, I was very much, in my early days as a coach, was very much in terms of we're going to go big after this day and we're going to go big here as well and try and get 2 big days on this week sort of thing. And if lads are tired, they're meant to be tired, it's off-season. That doesn't work. So if anything, it ruins a coach-athlete relationship because you're trying to push them. And yes, some of them will get pushed and some of them will take it. Some athletes switch down and just turn off at that point and say, right, I'm not working with him because he doesn't listen to us when I'm saying I kind of do more and stuff like that. So I think I've adapted myself in my off-season planning to say we'll go big here and we'll build here and then we'll go big here when we know we've got that weekend off or the 2 days off sort of thing, where that's their time to just recover and do nothing with. That's something I've really adapted recently because of feedback we've had from players and stuff like that, like not negative, but oh, I was really tired here, so next year maybe we'll look at something different and we'll take that on board and adapt training accordingly. If I could give one bit of advice for coaches in the off season, it would be to thoroughly research and understand the methodology and the technology that they're going to use so they can get the most out of it and ensure that their training's at the highest quality it can be to ensure each athlete's performance can be pushed along.